Do you struggle with arousal? Do you struggle to connect with your partner or feel like sex is monotonous because it's only ever done one way? Are you having a hard time plugging into your libido? If any of these things resonate with you, you are not going to want to miss the conversation that I just had with Sacha Fossa. Join us this week as we take a look at the erotic blueprints, what they mean, how they play out in your life, both the light and the shadow side, and how you can have your best sex and love life when you know what turns you on. Hi, I'm Adrienne Irizarry. I'm an East Asian medicine practitioner who is passionate about women's health and helping women to live their best lives. My goal is to put you in the driver's seat of your health, offering holistic solutions for a symptom-free life. Statements made in this program are for educational purposes only and not intended as a substitution for medical consultation or advice. We do not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases. This podcast is inclusive and welcomes all gender identities. The focus of the program is on biological function, and we will use the term women throughout, but it is referencing physiological and social challenges for biology, not identity. Come as you are, I am happy you're here and welcome all performances of identity. I hope you find something helpful in this show. Welcome back to another episode of the Reproductive Rebel podcast. I am honored to once again be joined by Sacha Fossa. Welcome to the show, Sacha.
Thank you.
So if you did not catch episode 27, definitely go back and listen to that episode because we talked about how to have your best sex and love life. And this is the next step in that journey. And I'm so excited she's willing to come back and talk about more of the minutia around that. Like we talked about how to make your life this beautiful embraced love story. And this piece that we're going to talk about today, the erotic blueprints, is like more of the details of how to get there. So I'm going to have Sacha kind of do a little intro overview. Again, for those of you that didn't listen to episode 27, definitely go back and listen. It was a great episode.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun again today. And what this concept of best sex and love life, which is what I base all my coaching on, and it's essentially I custom design programs to get you your best sex and love life, because I think everyone will be loving their life more if they had their best sex and love life. And what I love about the blueprints as this foundation, this major foundation of building that, is that each person is erotically wired differently and in their own unique way, according to their blueprints. And what that means is that what looks like for one person, right, of what they want, of maybe a romantic love story kind of experience of their best sex and love life, is like for another person, well, that sounds boring and terrible. I want to do something super hot and sexy, or like another could be, I want to just have the kinkiest stuff possible, right? Mm-hmm. No romance, just give me the hardcore fun kink or whatever it is. And there's like everything in between, right? And so we're going to talk with addressing connecting with and feeling these blueprints in your body, understanding them in yourself, and then how to connect with others through this new type of experience and through these different languages, which they really are.
I love this. So I thought this would be a really important episode to have because there are a lot of social stigmas, particularly for female-bodied people, around what this aspect of your play is supposed to look like. Because there is the romantic novel version, right? There is the, hot scenes from Top Gun where there's no conversation. There's just, let's get to it. And so we get a lot of mixed messages about the woulda, coulda, shouldas, right? Oh, yeah. And I love the erotic blueprints because it's your story. How does your body come alive in a very real way? And you're not just being performative for a partner or doing what you think you saw on TV, but being able to figure out what turns you on at a cellular level is a completely different experience. You will feel your body come alive in a very electric way when you find what works for you. There are so many groups, and I watch them on social media because I think it's really interesting how many stories women are told about their sexuality, what it should look like, and it's that whole juxtaposition of a lady on the street and a freak in the bed. Well, no, like we move through the world with the energy that makes us feel alive, and being able to find that and tap into that is literally a superpower.
Yeah. Yeah. And that really is what the blueprints are about. They're superpowers. And to understand, well, if you're in the positive side of them, which we'll talk about because there's shadow sides as well. And I love you brought up, your sexuality is your aliveness. And so, my mentor and the creator of the blueprints, Jaya, a famous sexologist who created also the Netflix series. Well, she co-featured in the Netflix series Sex, Love, and Goop. That's Gwyneth Paltrow's series. I encourage all the listeners to get some basis in the blueprints by watching the episodes with Jaya, especially. And if you want to find out what your blueprints are, you're going to want to take the quiz, but not just the free one. You want to get the report that actually gives you in-depth, like 30 pages of information on your blueprint and how you relate to others and so forth. I encourage everyone to go to the show notes or go Google Sacred Temple Arts, and then you'll see the Erotic Blueprint quiz link there. I'm happy to provide a consultation for listeners as a gift to reach out and to connect with me through my website, and we can have a little brief call about your blueprint report after you've taken it. So let's get into the blueprints here. And I guess what I wanted to say more is that Jaya talks about, as a somatic sexologist, which we both are. I'm certified as an erotic blueprint coach, licensed actually. It's a pretty intense certification that Jaya does that you have to continue to take education in. And I was in her first round when it was still her teaching, and I got all the good stuff right at the beginning. I've been in this from the beginning. Now it's Jaya's got a book out as well that I encourage everyone to go and check out on the blueprints. So watch the series, but you're going to want to have a coach because you can go so much deeper into the layers of this. And I can tell you, I've been doing it for almost a decade now, and I am still just learning more about these blueprints because it's really about the aliveness. Getting more alive. Your sexuality is your juice, right? Your libido. And so if you're not feeling alive in your life and turned on, especially as women, we really need to be in that flow energy for us to have the ability to give all that we give from overflow instead of depletion. And so, I started out too single in the blueprint realm and really had to go very deep into how do I feed myself in the blueprints. But everyone needs to know, even if you have a partner and so forth, you need to learn how to feed yourself, how to feed your partner, how to feed each other, and how to speak in the different languages. So, should we tell our listeners what they are and go into that?
Yes, absolutely. Because I think, some of you listening are familiar with Gary Chapman's work, The 5 Love Languages. And I can't remember if we touched on this in the last episode or not, but these are the ways in which your partner can communicate that they love you. Sometimes just saying I love you is enough to fill somebody's love tank. Other times it's, when somebody cleans the kitchen up for you, you're like, oh,
I feel so loved and appreciated right now. There are 5 different ways: acts of service, words of affirmation, gift giving, quality time, and physical touch. And physical touch isn't just sex. It's little things like your partner putting their hand on your low back when you're just like standing out in public, or holding your hand when you walk through the grocery store, or, little things like that really make that person feel seen, held, and loved by their partner. So the blueprints really take that a step further in terms of, okay, so I need to feel loved, but I also have to be able to find my turn on, and not in a performative, what I think my partner wants kind of way, which a lot of women will default to, but in a what actually turns me on at the deepest level. And in turn, when you are partnered, what turns my partner on mentally, emotionally, physically, so that we can have the deepest connection possible and both feel seen and loved in the deepest way possible.
Yeah. As Jaya puts it, there's no sexual incompatibility. And that might seem shocking to people. But actually, I've seen it repeatedly, and I've experienced it in my own life. When you learn these blueprints, and also the love languages are a big piece too, in terms of, conflict and issues between couples, because opposites tend to attract. So a lot of times you're speaking your love language, and which means you're giving to your partner in what you want to receive, right? And they're giving to you in what they want to receive. And generally speaking, that is often not the same thing. It can be very different. So it's the same with these blueprints, with the erotic blueprints. It tends to be that we have a primary and a secondary. But the reason I encourage everyone to not just do the free quiz is the algorithm will just give you a primary based on, what the numbers show up. But if 2 are the same, it's just going to choose one. So you're going to miss out on knowing that you're actually 2 blueprints are your primary. It's not going to catch in different ways how close you might be to what's called a shapeshifter. There's going to be issues with just doing the free quiz. You want to do an entire report, and then you want to get eyes on it of a coach like myself that can break it down for you and actually give you the real analysis of what's going on here in terms of the overall picture, right? And this way of like, how do I feed myself in these blueprints? It contributes to becoming an ultimate lover in your own body as well, to understand these different patterns of arousal and ways that you experience the blueprints. And it also becomes a pathway of liberation and expansion, because when they get really into it, can say, well, oh, I'm really low in these other blueprints, but what would it be like to explore? I like to say, well, why not play in all of the sandboxes? Do you want to play in just one? And that's it, your little box. Here's my place, and I'm comfortable in this one blueprint. Or do you want to be able to play in all of the sandboxes?
Which is a really, honestly, powerful place to be, because then no matter your partner, whether it's long term and you need to keep things interesting, or you are working on finding your partner and, you're able to show up in the ways that whoever you're with needs.
Yes. Yes. So let's give our listeners the actual blueprints here.
Yeah.
And Jaya did come up with the model, and she created it in a similar way to Gary Chapman's. There are 5 erotic blueprints, just like the love languages. One is not better than the other. There's no hierarchy here. The theory is essentially that we're imprinted in the womb and as young children in our love languages or blueprints. They can change throughout our lifetime, and often do, depending on experiences sexually, traumas, life events, hormonal changes, stages of life. But generally speaking, we can look at, having some sense of a primary blueprint that's kind of running for us. of these five. And we tend to look more again at the primary and secondaries when we're comparing or contrasting with others, and especially our partners. So, and I'm just going to kind of give a little bit of, since I like to do things somatically in my practice, right? It's all about the body. I'm going to talk about them quickly, but I'm going to also, if anybody feels comfortable and they're in a place that they'd like to, you can follow along with giving your body some of the touches as I'm describing the blueprints. We'll feed our body the blueprints, but only to the point, of course, that you're comfortable with, then do it or not. We'll start with the first blueprint is the energetic blueprint. And so the energetics are all about energy. They're turned on by anticipation and flirting and eye contact, right? Connection. There's real strong sense of needing to feel connected for the energetics arousal. Energetics, now what I'm talking about is a positive side. I'll give some of the shadows to you. But the energetics tend to they can have orgasms. You'll see it in the episodes of the Sex, Love, and Goop. Jaya and her partner Ian demonstrate orgasmic orgasms. And you also see it in one of the clients she's working with, who spontaneously starts to go into energetic orgasms. So essentially, the energetics can have energetic orgasms. They can have orgasms, the wind, the breeze. They like energy, this kind of touch. So, it's when we're playing with feeding the blueprints, think a scale of 1 to 5. 1 is, I don't like this. 2, meh, doesn't really do anything for me. 3, that's pleasurable. 4, highly pleasurable. 5, orgasmic. So I'm hovering off the body and I'm just playing here with some energy. And just notice if anybody feels like following along. Yeah. What does it feel? Does this do something for you or not? If it does, you might have some energetic going on. My body. And even if it's not like off the body, an energetic also could be very light, hovering touch, like barely touching the hairs. Like, that kind of touch is also energetic. So notice I'm very slow, right? So energetics are like slow. It's a light touch. It's about the connection. Energetics in the positive side. Again, they can have all these different types of very energetic orgasms. They might be into like Tantra and more of a spiritual connection with sex. Possibly it has some meaning to them. Energetics aren't like typically, the high energetic is not someone who's typically out having one night stand, right? And just like out there, just let's go, fuck kind of thing. There's a different quality. Energetics in the shadow side can be hierarchical of, I used to be really into Tantra and in my high energetic before I went into blueprints and studying kink and all these other things. So I would be like, I can only have lovers that are high tantric initiates and, masters of lovemaking. And I was like in this, Tantra is better than everything else, right? Like ordinary sex. I was like so in the shadow side of that blueprint that can be hierarchical. A real shadow of the energetic can be, but it could also just be a choice of the person. They can kind of take or leave sex. So a lot of times you find these days when you see couples that are struggling where one is decided to just shut the door and is, I don't really care. I don't want to have sex anymore. Well, they might be high energetic. So you have to learn how to feed them into their blueprints to reawaken and connect with the sexual energy and maybe get them into like, how do you have these multiple energy orgasms? So you have to feed their blueprint. And that's not always the reason, of course, for when we have these sexless relationships and so forth, if things shut down, but can be, right? That can be a shadow. Energetics can short circuit, literally, because it's energy. It's like the orgasm just short, and sexual energy, 1 minute it's there, I'm connected, I'm breathing with you, we're looking into each other's eyes, and I'm about to, and then, ooh, I feel fried. Like, what
Yes.
happened? I short circuited. It's like, zoom. Like,
I'm seeing a little more of myself in this one than I
energetic?
through. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it must be because, I mean, as the holistic healer that you are and you do acusonics,
Yeah.
if that's not a high energetic blueprint, I don't know what it is.
Well,
Right?
what really resonated with me is literally the inability to have multiple partners. Like especially in the early years of my life, like it was such a requirement to be connected if I was even going to think about it. And when you're energetic too, if you're with the wrong person or you try to force yourself to perform, their energy lingers with you and you can feel it. I've actually seen women verbalize this in some of the forums that I'm in because they're like, I made a bad decision. I should have listened to my gut. And now I can't shake the feeling of that person's energy. What can I do? And I always chime in and I go, pelvic steaming will work for that.
Yeah.
And people are like, are you supposed to steam the kitty? And it's okay, work with a practitioner, please. But yes, there's a lot of energetic clearing and healing that can happen with this practice. So for an energetic, pelvic steaming really should be part of your toolkit. Just dropping that out there.
Yeah. And I would say pelvic steaming is a sensual blueprint, which we're going to get to next, and energetic. And yeah, we should do a whole podcast at some point on actually the energetics around, because it's not just the energetic blueprint. They'll notice it more. But, I really do believe, and I'm speaking from a woman who's had a lot of sex with a lot of people, right? I wish someone had told me how that was affecting me energetically. And because it is an exchange of energy and DNA and imprinting and things that happen that no one tells you about or talks to you about. Attachments, entities, there's so many different things we won't get into in this podcast. We could do a whole podcast just easily.
I think we should, because as you're talking about attachments and entities, and I'm like, oh, yes. Yeah.
And what can happen? And the things that people don't tell you that they should about why you might want to consider listening more to, should I really actually put this person inside my body?
Yes, 100%.
Not really a good idea.
Yeah.
Or I just high on chemicals that are biological that are making me crazy.
Right. Now. Exactly.
Another podcast. All right. So energetic. Yeah, that connection. You really need that connection. They like breath play, energetic play. And I mean breath play in the energetic realm. So tantric breathing, things like that. Just little side note, which is funny, is Jaya was learning kink because she had kink as her 0% at one point, and her partner, she discovered, was highest in kink, right? Mm-hmm. She was sexual energetic, he was sensual kinky. So how do you fix these things? You go and hire people and take classes, right? You can hire me, I'll help you with all of this. And you learn how to speak the other's language. So she was taking kink classes, right? It's more advanced stuff. And the Dom said, are you you okay with breath play? And she said, yeah, thinking tantric, like breath play. And he choked her out.
Oh, wow.
It's in the kinky world, breath play.
Yeah. It's a little more aggressive.
Right? So we can see the difference in the blueprints here already. All right. So the energetic, let's see. I think I've said everything about that. So, okay. So we want to feed an energetic. What would you do? You give them flirting and play. Oh, big piece though. Energetics need a lot of space. Lot of space. Don't cram their space. They may need to really, connect and then I need to be away from you. Or they need space. I need to live in a house that has at least 5 or 6 rooms, and I could go bigger. I take up a lot of space. I like my space. I want to live more in nature where I don't see another house or another person anywhere. I've lived like that before. I plan on doing it again because energetics really have to have a lot of this concept of space.
Wow, that's fascinating. I've
Yeah.
always chosen office spaces that are old buildings with the big tall
High
windows and
ceiling.
super high ceilings.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of when a short circuit can happen, right? When your space is invaded. Yeah. Or a touch is like, it's not slow. It's not respecting your energy field.
Yeah.
So you could think of even just as a high energetic person, right? And like you're just like high, you've got all this energy and you're aware of your chakras. And now you might not be woo-woo at all and still have high energetic, by the way. We'll talk about that later. And actually, to put it out there quickly too, there is some research that energetics tend to seem to have had more trauma. And so that can, and I know that's true for myself, and it is like you disassociate, right, more easily. Now, you can disassociate in any blueprint, and we all can have trauma in different ways and so forth, but energetics kind of, that's how they save themselves, right? So, and it makes sense that their erotic imprinting is now more of an energy communion with nature and even maybe God or some whatever you believe in, right? Rather than it having to be a physical person and more sexual on the material plane. So that's why spaciousness, right? So if you're high energetic and your partner's high sexual and they walk up to you and grab your breasts and slap your pussy with a hand, right? It's like or that's just their meeting, like their sexual blueprint, but you're like, the energetic is just happening here, you know?
My husband inevitably loves when I'm bent over under the counter and he like whack right in the butt. And I always stand up and whack my head into the counter and I'm just like, that was so intrusive.
There you go. He's doing like sexual kinky and you're like, oh, what happened?
Well, I have to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
Which I know takes some of the spontaneity out of it. I could meet him in that space, but I just need like warning.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
That's hilarious. I never thought about that.
Yeah. Energetics need a lot of space and can't be boxed in or cramped in different ways. That shuts them down. Okay. So I think sensual. Now, if we go back to our bodies here, if I'm shifting out of energetic touch, sensual. Ooh, my turn on with the sensual is everything that's orgasmic about the senses. So sensual's like the perfect touch for them. That's very sensual. Think romance and think foodgasms. The most perfect. Sensuals tend to make a lot of noise when they're eating. Right? And it's like you could just smell it. Aromatherapy. Think of smelling your favorite smell, tasting the perfect bite of food, having the perfect touch with just the right oil, and everything's just the right temperature. Right? Sensuals love massage, where energetics foreplay are like energy games or flirting or play like this. Sensuals are the foreplay of, ooh, massage and wine and dine me, feed my senses. Sensuals, with that said, the shadow side then would be that they get turned off. Oh my God, my lover has bad breath. Just get away. Or go take some peppermint. Go put some peppermint oil in your mouth right now.
You're chewing too loud.
You're chewing too loud.
I hear that one a lot.
I'm cold. My feet are cold. Oh my God, sensuals need it's Goldilocks. Just everything needs to be just right, including the environment because it's about their senses. So you need to keep the things also energetics don't like clutter either. Uncluttered, spacious, but sensuals need, beauty. They're actually the beauty creators in the world. They care deeply about aesthetics, even in regards to sex. Their turn on is a beautiful environment. And, and again, everything just right, the right feeding of these senses. So instead of short circuiting, a sensual will be in the shadow side they tend to worry and have monkey mind, right? Because, oh my God, the laundry, that doesn't look right there. I'm worried about this. My partner's doing this. They'll project things onto their partners. They'll worry about things and they'll be in monkey mind, unable to get into the body to have the senses fully fed in a positive way if they're thrown off sense-wise. Like an example even is just, for a sensual, you have to have the right playlist for making love. Like a song comes on or something's letting in the temperature, right sheets even. Like things need to be essentially and aesthetically pleasing. And when things get off with that, they tend to, again, not short circuit, but their orgasm becomes elusive. Like I was about to come or I was enjoying myself and I was aroused and now something just made me go.
It's like flatline. Yep.
Yeah. And so to feed a sensual out of their shadows is to feed their senses positively back into their arousal again. You might need to fix something in the environment, offer their body something different, do a different type of touch. Oh, another big piece is sensuals, energetics as well, need to feel safe, secure.
Yes.
To be aroused. Yeah.
And now a word from our reproductive rebel sponsor, Embody Space. Your cycle holds wisdom, and the Embody Space cycle tracking app helps you unlock it. Track your cycle in the only fully encrypted app designed to protect your most sacred data. Get daily guidance tailored to every phase, from bleeding to blooming, with rituals, herbs, lifestyle tips, dietary support, and more. All tailored for your body's natural rhythms, because your body's story is yours alone. Embody Space, your private portal to cycle wisdom. Download now and reclaim your rhythm. And now, back to the show.
We're going to talk about sexual and kinky next. Not so much. It's different for every person. We're generalizing here, of course, but in general, these blueprints function very differently. The sensual needs to feel safe and secure, and they like their comfort. They want to be comfortable. And the more comfortable they are, the more turned on.
You make them sound very Taurian.
Yes.
Governed by Venus. As you're describing it, I was like, I've seen a lot of Tauruses and a lot of Libras that fall into this category because they're very tactily aware and they want the soft, fluffy pillows and the satin sheets and oh my goodness, this is so cool. Is anybody else like, hell yeah, keep going. This is awesome.
Yeah, I bet you could do a whole thing, of course, on astrology of the blueprints, right?
I'm sure you could.
Yeah, breaking down the different planets. That's fun. Yeah, the sensuals need to relax to have sex, and energetics need to feel connected to have sex in a way, right? Now, the next blueprints, right? Not so much. So you can see how we're changing here. So again, the sensual shadows would be the worrying, things going off of making the orgasm elusive because of the differences in the environment, having to feed them into safety, trust, having them back in their bodies, right? Get them back in the bodies. Take the dirty laundry out of the room. Tell them that you'll do it later and you promise to do it. Take whatever it is that they need that they're worried about and then help them get into their bodies again. The sensuals do well with something called toggles that Jaya talks about. Toggles are when you create an activity that you move from one thing to the next in terms of, especially with intimate life. So a sensual may need a massage or like to go take a bubble bath or a nice hot shower to move from their everyday world and activity to intimate life, right? So toggling. All right, let's move to the sexual. So now there's also, this lie in our world that women are more sensual and men are more sexual, which is the next blueprint we're going to talk about, right? Or cock owners more sexual, vulva owners more sensual. Well, actually, there's a little truth in that the blueprint quizzes show a little bit of that overall, but in general, it's much more valid that the blueprints are equally distributed throughout the population of all genders. Okay. So again, there's no hierarchy here. And I think there's been a lot of bad rap for women who have high sexual and being slut shamed when guess what? They're just wired that way. Right. There's most of the men that end up coming to me that have either some form of erectile dysfunction, whether it's premature ejaculation or delayed ejaculation. The majority of them tend to be high energetics. The primary blueprint is they're energetic. And so they're simply not sexually wired the same way as a sexual, right? But because the male is considered just to be the sexual blueprint. So what is the sexual blueprint? Well, if the sensual is romance and flowers and senses and all those things, the sexual blueprint is, right? Let's fuck. Let's do it. 0 to 60 arousal. We don't need foreplay. Let's go. Why are we even talking? Let's get it on. And let's get it on now. Let's get naked. Let's do it. Right? Very simple. They tend to be the most straightforward. It's very penetrative energy, right? And it's just, I like getting naked. I love my orgasms. I want to come, right? So the shadow side is they're missing the journey of all the foreplay, the connection, the aftercare, the other pieces that are possible because they're so, I want to fuck and I want to come. That can be in the shadow side, right? So they're very direct. Energy is very different in the sexual, right? A sexual can have more sex and it's not necessarily some big story or connection that has to happen or they get married because, it's a different energy. Now, sexuals also have to be fed sex frequently or they're starving, which is any of the shadow sides I've talked about. People can also be starving. They're in the shadows or they're starving because they're not being fed. In their blueprint. So if you're with a high sexual, and even as a woman, you're in your, you're experiencing, you're having your first baby, right? Can you find ways to still feed your partner, even if, and you may be actually while pregnant in high sexual, but if you're not, or if you're in the after phase of necessary healing, right? Do you just let your partner starve or could you provide something different for them that would be in their sexual blueprint, right? Sexuals, oral sex, lots of orgasms, manual touch, nudity, porn, right? Just simple. Let's get it on. Let's do it. And I need to be fed frequently in this way. And if they don't get their climaxes, their orgasms that they're really needing, then they could get a little pissed off at their partner and feel like, because there's nothing wrong with it. This is just how they're wired. Oh, and to know that about your partner instead of making it anything bad about them. I have noticed that even though I'm a shapeshifter, which we're going to get to, I'm like all the blueprints, but I have a higher sexual blueprint than my partner. He actually right now is more insensual. And I'm like, I need cock. Let's go. Like, we long distance relationship. And the minute he walks in the door, I'm like, let's fuck now. I take your pants off. I'm getting on you right now. Right.
Yep.
And he's stopped doing that. I need to relax. It turns me off when you're that aggressive. And I'm like, I can barely control myself, Adrian. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I have to just be like, oh, let's snuggle and let him relax and then wait. I'm like, literally, like, he goes to sleep and he's also worked all day and then traveled here and so forth. So, yeah, I got to give the guy a break, right? But I'm like literally wide awake in bed, like, I can't even sleep. I'm just waiting for that cock in me. Is he awake yet? Are we doing it yet? And he's snoring, just trying to get some sleep so he can provide that for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's really amazing, like the way you're describing this. Like when people are listening to this, like how many of you find yourself in this juxtaposition of this is what I need and how I need it. My partner is in a different place. And how many of us get frustrated with our partners because we're not on the same page at the same time? But that polarity is part of what creates the attraction, the momentum, because they give you gifts that you don't have. And they meet you in different spaces. And so that whole concept of opposites attract is really true.
Yeah. And to learn to play in these polarities instead of in the past, and this is how Jaya discovered and really embodied and created the different blueprints, right? Or brought them embodied into the world, was that after they had their first son, her and her partner, Ian, she went into really high sexual after her healing. And it also had an orgasmic birth and tended to be more sexual energetic. And at the time, she didn't know what Ian was or that these were the blueprints. But for any couples out there that might experience this, so she would be like, let's go. I want sex. I was describing. She said one time they were in a hotel room in between classes and she went, chop, chop, let's go. Let's have sex now. And he was just like, chop. I was so turned off. She also was taking all these classes in strip tease and dancing and pole dancing. And none of that was his blueprint either. I forgot to mention, sexuals are visual. So if you're a high sexual and your partner doesn't want to sleep naked or show their body, you're not feeding them. They just want to be able to look at you. They love the visual of naked bodies. So Jaya was wanting to have all the sex and Ian was just trying to cuddle her, right? She would turn over and cry herself to sleep and think, we're done. I'm 1 foot out the door. We're never going to be able to heal this. But Ian was trying to cuddle her to relax to then have sex in the sensual blueprint.
Yep.
So again, these just the different interpretations. So we should jump into the kinky because we could talk about all of these all day. Kinky, right? Now, is there anything I missed about the sexual? Basically, you're feeding them more sex, more orgasms. Pretty simple, right? Kinky gets a bad rap, but it's becoming a little more normalized since 50 Shades of Grey, which I don't recommend. That was like garbage to me, although it was somewhat interesting for a lot of women to explore the kinky blueprint. It's not in really an accurate and well done way by any means. That's another story. So kinky is essentially the blueprint itself is just what is taboo for you. So I've had a lot of clients that will be like, no, I'm not kinky or I don't have any kink, but they have this imprint of kinky is walking around with a dog collar and wearing chaps and being flogged and like pain and like all these other or being peed on. And they don't realize that they do have kink. It's just their own like kink of what's taboo to them. So the kinky is just what's taboo to you. There's different types of kink. There's psychological kink and there's sensation play kink. So a person may be in one camp or more than one or like both. Kinky kinksters, kinky blueprint people. Well, we can't call them kinksters really because that's its own like world. But kinky blueprint essentially, if you're really well versed in it and in the high side, the positive side, you're very creative and you've got a great education about boundaries and consent and just a whole lot more variety of things to play in, right? Mm-hmm. And well versed in sexuality in new and different ways. If you don't have that education, you're in the shadow side of the kinky blueprint, and that can be dangerous. Do not want to be like, hey, let's try some kink tonight. I'll get out some ropes and tie you up. No. Never. Now, maybe you could get some, soft cuffs from a sex toy company or something like that. But you want to play with rope, you hire an expert to teach you, right? Mm-hmm. By the way, as part of my programs, I have a dom that comes in and teaches rope classes. So I do all of these things, or I'll find you one if we're working virtually, right? But you have to get the education in the kinky. Kink blueprint, the shadow is that they tend to have more shame because it's been, a whole world that's been shamed essentially. So that tends to be one of the issues. Obviously, a fetish can become an issue if you only want to have sex wearing a yellow raincoat and that's the only way you can do it. Your partner going to be happy with that over time.
Right.
So the kinky to feed them out of the shadows would be to provide things that are taboo for them, to do psychological play and different ways of taking them over at different edges in a safe and consensual way, and to give the full education that's necessary. Kinky, I forgot to, sexual touch. So if I went from energetic to sensual, the sexual would be like, grab my boobs, grab my pussy, lips, all just like anything just penetrative, different type of energy entirely, right? Mm-hmm. Out there, grab it, touch it. And then the kinky would be yank it, smack it,
yeah,
twist it.
Yeah, pinch
it.
Yeah.
Psychologically play and fuck with it, right?
Yeah.
The kinky is like all of these other different types of play. Choke it. Spanking, any type of slapping. And this is the sound of that. Does it turn you on or does it not? Give you a sense of, do I have some kink? Do I like any of those types of touches? Do you like the sexual touches? Would you feel, good about just someone grabbing your ass, right? In a sexual way? Do you like to be just like manhandled kind of thing? Or do you like your woman to jump on top of you? That would speak to a little more sexual blueprint, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If you were more like, no, I need foreplay, I need connection, I need space, you're understanding your other blueprints, right? If you're like, I don't even care about sex, I just want to be spanked, slapped, I want to get across, let's go to a dungeon, or let's just even, do some role play that's taboo, right? And you're in the kinky realm. Now, the final blueprint is if you combine all of these touches in different ways, and this is when you wish you had 10 hands or maybe 10 partners to do all of that. That's the shapeshifter. And the shapeshifter is the erotic connoisseur because it is all of the blueprints in some type of pretty equal way. So the shapeshifter is all about the more. All and more. Give it to me all and more. The shadow is if they're starving, they will go into their partner's blueprints or other people's blueprints instead of their own. And so they're missing out on their own sexuality and expansion. When they're starving, they can get very depressed. I've seen a lot of shapeshifters that came to me that wanted to get off medications because they realized that they were medicating themselves from the depression of the underlying sexual erotic fucking volcano that they have naturally that had been stomped up.
Oh my word, I feel so seen right now.
Yeah, right? There you go.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it saved my life. When I found Jaya's work, which I'd known about Jaya through the Tantra world forever and studied her stuff, when she came out with the blueprints, and I realized I was a full-blooded shapeshifter right away, oh my God, it still makes me cry. All of the years of relationships where everyone, just even back to my childhood, you're too much.
Too much. Yep.
You are too much of everything. You need to tone it down and get in a box over here, lady or little girl, right?
Yeah.
You cannot act that way. It is not okay to be who you are, right?
Yeah.
It's not okay to be who you are. So, partners calling me, you're insatiable. You're a nymphomaniac, always the too much. You're too much for me. And then you just shut down. You're like, I'm too much for the whole fucking planet.
Yeah.
Life sucks.
Yeah.
Right?
Or you get depressed.
No fun.
Yeah. You just shut down.
You shut down. And it can kill you. It's so... for shapeshifters, when they reawaken and realize they it's like the come to shapeshifter, like Jesus moment when you come out and you're like, oh my God, it's okay. I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Not bad. I'm not totally fucked up.
Yeah. It's wild because
I'm just a shapeshifter and it's a superpower, not a curse.
Well, and at the beginning, it does feel like a curse because some days you want the energetic connection. Other days you're like, drop trial, let's go. And which makes it seem like you're literally different personalities in the same body. And your partner is, what the fuck do I do with this person? Because I never know what she wants.
Yes, exactly.
And they look at you like there's something broken or you're unhinged in some way. And instead of it being like, oh, I get to play with multiple people in one body, game on. Like,
right?
And until you find a partner that can accept all of you, it really is. Because as you were going through all of these, I was like, oh, I resonate with all of these so deeply. And I had to laugh at the energetic ones at the beginning because I didn't realize like how much in the early years of my life the energetic part did drive the bus. I had to be seen. But it comes back to my core wounding around self-worth, right? I had to be seen and have that connection in order to feel safe enough to do the things. Early, when you lose your virginity to sexual trauma, like safety is a big thing, right? So your life circumstances can and often do shape how some of these show up for you. But for me, so we're going to go back to astrology here. Like the sensual is very like Libra and Taurian in my brain as you're describing these. Scorpio is very sexual. And this shapeshifter I see is more of an Aquarius because they're very intellectual. They understand how all of these things work, but they're also very open-minded to be able to do lots of different things, and shit has to stay interesting. Otherwise, it falls flat, because that has been the biggest challenge, at least for me, as I've gone through my life, is there are times that I need a certain blueprint and I get very distracted by the clutter and laundry. But then there are other times where I'm just like, no, let's go right now.
Yes.
And I never know when I wake up, like what I'm going to want that day, which is kind of hard for a partner that is very hardly wired in one direction.
Yeah. And I'll bet you've chosen a partner that has a little bit more, maybe. I have a Capricorn is my partner now. So there's a deep grounding and a different energy about that. And again, I was surprised because I was like, when we first started dating, before we even met in person, I was like, I wanted to make sure he was a shapeshifter because I'm just at a point in my life where I want it all and more now. And so I want a shapeshifter to play with, right? And to partner with. And so I knew he was a shapeshifter, but it was surprising that as we got together more and more, we started polarizing. He started going more into sensual. I started going this way, right? But it's okay because we are all about expansion, wanting to learn more. Well, guess what? We're in the fires of having to work this all out, right? And it's so powerful. He has a kink that I'd never even heard of, right? And I thought I knew everything. And when he told me to, we went through this period of like, well, it's not organically in you, so you won't be able to play in this way, and that's going to suck for me, right? But then I proved him, I'm like, dude, I am like an ultimate fucking shapeshifter. Of course I can do this. Yeah. Teach me. I can learn, and I will have fun playing in this kink. Yes. Because I can shapeshift. I'm so hardcore shapeshifter, right? Yeah. And so it's like this massive, now that problem solved, now another thing comes up.
Absolutely.
And I believe, can we celebrate that? And if you need to hire someone to learn how to do all of this, I'll hack it for you. That's my job. Yeah. And it's because I'm a shapeshifter, my business is always, it's why I'm all of these things. And I see that in you. Don't do one modality, right?
No. Yeah.
I am a coach, an educator, a wellness teacher. I am like 10 things packed into Sacred Temple Arts under the title Sacred Temple Arts because it's all about the body.
Yeah.
It's the temple. But it's like everything under the sun of all of the modalities of the healing arts that I combine and the coaching, the education, the blueprints, it's all shapeshiftery, right? A lot of people will say, your website's too much. You need to break it into like several websites.
I just had a coach tell me the same thing.
Yes. Right? It's too much. It's too many things. Break it into a wellness and then a sexual and then this, that. You have your photos are either too sexual, right? Or they're too. Okay. No, my website presents all of it. You have energetic pictures of me, sensual, kinky, sexual, and we have all my modalities and everything I do on there because I want you to have it all and more if that's what you want to. At least to have the full menu to choose from. It's your choice, but have the full menu. And it's been the greatest time of my life to become fully empowered and to own, right? Being a shapeshifter. Now, to everybody out there that's, well, I'm not, don't worry. You can learn to be if you want to be. I'll teach you. That's what I do for all my clients is if they want to be shapeshifters, let's go. By the time you're out of your first program, usually my clients they take the quiz again. Now they're much more balanced and they may already be fully in shapeshifter. But it's okay if you just enjoy the way that you live in your blueprint. That's fine too. But we want to keep feeding that at least so it doesn't get stagnant, to make sure you're positive sides. And are you speaking your partners, if you have one's language or not? Coming back to the language piece, I'll just give a quick synopsis that could help people to understand and see this in a different context. If Jaya says, if these were like languages, right? So the energetic would be like calligraphy or cuneiform. It would be some type of cuneiform. And then the sensual love language, like French. Yeah. Sexual, American English. Inky, a rare Persian language. Shapeshifter, you're the multilinguist. Kind of helps to bring it home a little bit that way.
Absolutely. So this, as you can tell from this conversation, it's a really deep well of information.
Endless.
And now we will take a short break from our episode to share an offering that will take your healing to a whole new level. How would it feel to stress less, feel more spaciousness in your body, all while reducing physical symptoms? I can tell you from personal experience, it's one of the most empowering and freeing experiences one can have. Rebel Remembered is a year-long journey using goddess archetypes, body wisdom, and ancient modalities to bring a level of health to your body unlike anything else. As a Chinese medicine practitioner, it has always been clear to me that the emotional body is at the root of physical symptoms in the body. This program is truly holistic, addressing physical symptoms by exploring spiritual and emotional themes, much like this episode. This opportunity only opens once a year, so be sure to get on the waiting list for when enrollment opens this fall. The link is in the show notes. And now, back to the show.
And this is why it's so important to do the full report, because many of us, and I can say this from all the forums that I've been in, all the clients that I've worked with, because the sexual performance piece comes up often. And it's hush, and a lot of times women feel a lot of shame and guilt around advocating for what they want, or maybe they know that they're not getting what they need, but they don't know what that is. And, because of that, or, oh, I just tried this thing, I feel a lot of shame around it, but it was oddly erotic at the same time, right? And it all has to do with a societal context that we've been fed since we came out of the womb around what it means to be a sexual being, no matter what you were born with for body parts, right? There are certain boxes that we have been pigeonholed into. And we think that if we don't fit into that particular stereotypical box, this is no different than performances of femininity in the patriarchal system, right? This is just another way that the narrative is controlled, and you're expected to fall into lockstep in a certain type of performance. And that performance for the vast majority of people is not authentic to who you are. And there's nothing wrong with, if, as you listen to these blueprints, I'm sure some of you were like, oh, I deeply resonate with that. Or, oh, shit, I never realized that was, oh, I'm going to have to look into that because I didn't realize that was me. And all of those things are beautiful. And that is exactly why I had Sacha on the show, because people make themselves physically sick over the fact that they don't perfectly fit into the societal patriarchal stereotype box. Like, I used to make jokes. I used to make jokes that I was that fucking librarian. Like, I had a certain look on the outside, but that skit with the librarian with the cardigan and the glasses, right?
Yeah,
and the library locks for the day, and she pulls the cardigan on. Yeah, and she's got like the big boots, and you know what I mean? Like, I used to joke with people that I was the librarian because I was the bookish, live in my head intellectual person, but I could go there. And it didn't bother me as long as I felt safe. The safety piece came from my early journey as a sexual being. But I think if that hadn't been there, and I've had this conversation with my husband, I'm like, if my story hadn't started that way, I don't think safety would have been nearly as big a thing for me as it became, right? So your story does inform how some of these blueprints show up for you, and everything that you try and you do within the boundaries of what feels safe and comfortable for you. So we're not saying, go to the hard edge of something if it doesn't feel okay. What we're saying is that maybe there are boundaries that you've thought about pushing that you've never actually physically gone there before. And it might feel foreign, or it might feel exciting, but on the edge of, should I be doing this? But this is exciting, right? And that is an okay place to be. As long as you feel safe and you feel held in this level of experimentation. And you don't have to do it with a partner. You could just be looking at maybe toys you've never played with. If you are, doing solo play, maybe you've never wanted to cross the threshold, or you've had this stigma around anal play, for example, and you decide this is taboo for me. I'm going to do this in a healthy way with proper lube. No, water-based won't work. But I'm going to dip my toe into this and see if this is something that I actually enjoy. And you might be really shocked to find, oh, this is an entirely different experience and one I want to repeat. Please make sure your anal toys have appropriate handles. Just putting that out there. So, whatever it is. Yeah. Maybe it's costume play. Right? Whatever it is, maybe it's something that you've just never allowed yourself to think about before, or you've thought about, but you haven't dared to vocalize. And none of it is bad. It doesn't mean that there is a darn thing wrong with you. It just means that you haven't allowed yourself creativity and play in an area that this is the adult playground.
Yeah, the erotic is play for adults, and people forget that adults have to play too. My newest promotion, by the way, if people go to my website, is a program in the erotic and intimate arts that's all about the play that people can check out, that will include all this blueprint stuff. Plus, every single course that I offer, program that I offer, comes with Jaya's. You get Jaya's premium access that's worth $2,000 to a lifetime of access to all the blueprint stuff in terms of her Erotic Freedom Club, hundreds of classes, live coaching events, amazing stuff. So please check out my website about that. And I'll just kind of circle back with what you were saying too. I found energetic sensuals, they need titration, meaning like we as shapeshifters and like sexuals and kinkies will go to those edges. We like to push edges. Energetic sensuals, you titrate them so they don't even know they're on the edge because they're so comfortable, but they're going another level to some expansion, but it's at their own energetic pace or their own sensual, comfort levels kind of thing. The sexual will be like, why do I need to learn any of this? What is so difficult about fucking? Why do we need to go see a coach? Duh. But there's always more to play in, even in the sexual. I would ask the sexuals, are you having 20 types of orgasms? If not, I'll teach you. Do you want to learn 20 types of orgasms? I can teach you that. And all body types, right? And when you were saying about the librarian, I just want to touch on quickly that we're going to do a whole podcast on erotic personas. And my dear, it sounds to me like you're talking two personas you've got in there already. The librarian and the dominatrix. So we'll connect around erotic personas. And we're considering too that we're going to actually dive into a podcast on each of these blueprints at some point. So when we say, if this was overwhelming for anyone, there's a lot of information. Just play with it, let it wash over you, see what resonates or not. And we'll take you deeper. And there's all these other resources for you out there as well, especially my website's a good one.
Absolutely. So we're going to definitely do more on this because I feel like healthy conversations around sexuality, there are not nearly enough of them. And it is such a source of empowerment and helping people to fully embrace the vitality of their life and their health, that this is something that I have wanted to do more of for a while. And now I feel like that I'm in the 4th season and Reproductive Rebel won an award. And now I can dabble in the places that other people don't want to go. So thank you so, so much for sharing your expertise with our audience, Sacha. I'm so excited for our next episode. So make sure that you follow the show. Check out episode 27 if you have not gotten a familiarity with the Sacha and Adrienne duo. And we will be back with another episode very soon. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate having you on the show.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Reproductive Rebel. Reproductive Rebel is recorded by certified peri-steam hydrotherapist and acutonics practitioner, herbalist, and Chinese nutritional therapist Adrienne Irizarry of Moon Essence LLC. If you are interested in setting up an appointment for one-on-one support, ordering from our store, or checking out our course offerings, visit our website at moonessence.life. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and get insider information on upcoming events and offerings. Join the conversation. Like and follow us at MoonEssenceMe on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Your voices make this program possible. Thank you all for your continued support.